Guys, if your assessments here are correct, these are very covert weapons, aren't they?
That's correct. There's no entry or exit wound. How they're designed is to make the target feel like they're crazy, like they're imagining things.
And you guys also said that these attacks are happening right here in this city, is that correct?
I mean, there have been some that have gone public with respect to Washington, D.C.
I think it was Mr. Grozev said you spoke to a Russian agent who said that they believe that Americans are using these same weapons on them. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Might that have something to do with part of the CIA's motive to cover up the existence of this tech and these weapons?
That is a very logical possibility.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from New York, Mr. Goldman, for his round of questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our witnesses for being here. Mr. Grozev, I want to follow up a little bit on the interactions you've had with Russian intelligence about these AHIs. And Mr. Zaid, I want to ask, and this is a hypothetical, but I'm trying to understand why our government would try to block information sharing or conceal information that they have. And one thing that comes to mind is whether there's an operational risk to revealing any of the details of their investigation. Is that something that you have come across in any of your work?
There's a lot of reasons why the information might not be publicly released. And I do think that's something we could address more in a classified environment to explain that. But there are understandable reasons why the U.S. government has not revealed much of what it knows.
There's some long-term things that needs to be done in terms of new acts. But in the short term, we need to do things like implement the original Havana Act. Yeah. DOD still hasn't done it. They still have not implemented the Havana Act. And we need a VA diagnostic code. Thanks to the VFW brothers and sisters that are here today and for your meeting earlier, we don't have a VA diagnostic code for the 500-some DOD survivors. Yeah. How are they going to get long-term care and disability without that?
Yeah. Well, I hope this issue you see in a room that is often contentious, explosive, volcanic, that you've got members on both sides who first honor and salute the victims and want to do everything we can to make sure that they're made whole, and if they can return. And then, of course, as the victims have wanted to do, make sure we do everything possible to prevent anyone else from suffering from this. And I yield back. Thank you, Chairman.
Hi, I'm Dr. James Giordano, 2018 O'Malley Visiting Chair in Bioethics here at Loyola Marymount University, and Professor in the Departments of Neurology and Biochemistry, Chief of the Neuroethics Studies Unit at Georgetown University Medical Center. You know, in many ways, a lot of what we're doing today in brain science is not only cutting edge within the sciences, but cutting edge for the knowledge base of humanity. We're going ever more boldly and ever more bravely into the brain as a final frontier of understanding, of engagement, and in some cases, of effect and manipulation. Once we let the proverbial cat out of the bag, well, at that point, now we let loose science and technology in the broader public sphere. And this then gets us into the actually derivative social issues.
We've advised the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the Pentagon, which sounds very important.
The individuals, the groups, the politics, and the societies that have the most sophisticated tools and perhaps weapons win. Out of disclosure, some of the work that I'm doing here today is funded by the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratories. I'm also funded by the European Union Human Brain Project, specifically the Sub-Project 12, where I'm a task leader for dual-use brain science. And I've also done some ongoing work with the Strategic Multi-Level Assessment Crew over the past 10 years at the Pentagon, at Dr. Kabayan's group, and with DARPA. Military agenda is interested on the potential weaponization and misuse of the brain sciences for nefarious agenda, for political, intelligence, and military uses. My particular set of interests have been in the development of advancing areas of neuroscience and neurotechnology, with particular deep dive with regard to neurotech. Increasingly, the boundary between neuroscience and engineering has become seamless. That said, what this has now done is put the brain literally at our fingertips of investigation, parting the proverbial curtains of the vagaries of what the structures and functions of the brain may do, but also parting those curtains of capability to allow us to literally go in up to the elbows to be able to assess, affect, manipulate, and control the brain. What has gone from the drawing board to the reality is this: the use of neural interfacing and physiological interfacing through the idea of remote-controlled small-scale systems to create a nanoswarm of biopenetrable materials that you cannot see, that can penetrate all but the most robust biochemical filters, that are able to integrate themselves through a variety of membranes, mucous membranes, and wherever, mouth, nose, ears, eyes, and they can be done in such a level that their presence is almost impossible to detect, and as such, the attribution becomes exceedingly difficult to demonstrate. The idea here is to put minimal-sized electrodes in a network within a brain through only minimal intervention to be able to read and write into the brain function in real time, remotely. And by affecting the way that brain is built and the way it functions, influence in ways that are kinetic and non-kinetic the attitudes, beliefs, thoughts, emotions, activities, and relative vulnerabilities and predispositions of those individuals for whom may threaten us. It used to be that I need to be exceedingly close to someone to now influence them with a weapon, and now what we see is we create both distal potential as well as much more capable potential to affect them in a variety of different ways. And although it may not be that the sky is falling yet, folks, it looks like rain. Bring an umbrella. That said, what's going to rain down? Take a look. This is the front of my pen. This amount of nanomaterial, if be able to maintain and sustain with regard to its deliverability and aerosolization, could in fact affect all of you, or based upon where I come from, New York City, all yous. Look at this. Look at this. I'm carrying that material. Would you see it? Would I have to lug a giant weapon into the room? No, I wouldn't. And what if, in fact, I utilize some form of an unmanned aerial device or unmanned ground device as a delivery vehicle? Something like a drone or a bug. Could I do something with that? But let's keep going. Could I also utilize a whole host of devices to be able to affect individuals close in, for example, during interrogations, during social engagements, during human terrain team engagements, or more remotely, in a room, in a theater, in an airplane, in a bus, in a store, in a mall? The answer is increasingly yes. The brain sciences are currently being investigated and in some cases are being used in such endeavors, not only domestically but worldwide. Not a month goes by where I don't get a call at my institute by someone telling me that someone in the government implanted one of these things in their brain without them knowing. I'm not kidding.
See, nanocells are real small, 1,000 times smaller than these dust particulates. You inhale it, they go to work, replicating, spreading like a virus, multiplying in exponentials. 6 months' time, I could have 100 million people converted, ditch diggers, porn stars, and presidents. Not one would be the wiser. 100 million people who buy what I want them to buy and do pretty much damn well anything I figure they ought to do.
There are those that think, wait a minute. The last sanctified space is that of my consciousness, and you're using this stuff to invade that? You're right.
You don't get rich by sitting behind a desk, so I didn't want to do that. And I'm in the White House and I was lonely.
Love this guy right here. Let me give this guy a hug right here. I love this guy right here. That's really nice. There was something about when I put this hat on, it made me feel like Superman. You made a Superman. That's my favorite superhero. And you made a Superman cape. I was connected with a neuropsychologist that works with the athletes in the NBA and the NFL. And he looked at my brain. It's equal on 3 parts. I'm going to go ahead and drop some bombs for you. 98 percentile IQ test.
He's doing well, except, of course, for the Never-Trumpers. But they are on mouth-to-mouth resuscitation.
I wouldn't be able to remember his name from a misdiagnosis. And what we need is we can empower the pharmaceuticals and make more money. That's one thing. I've never stepped into a situation where I didn't make people more money so we can empower pharmaceuticals, we can empower our industries, we can empower our factories, we can bring not only Adidas on shore, we can bring Foxconn.
The Attorney General says I'm going to recuse myself. And I said, why the hell didn't he tell me that before I put him in? Russia, 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 Russia.
Then we're cheating on our country, and we're putting people in positions to have to do illegal things.
And I said, why the hell didn't he tell me that before I put him in? Russia, Russia. Darling, is the wind blowing today? I'd like to watch television, darling.
This is our president.
Russia, please, if you can, get us Hillary Clinton's emails. Please, Russia, please.
If he don't look good, we don't look good.
He asked Russia to go get the emails. We're going to look into his finance. I said, where did that come from?
This is our president.
Yes, I agree with this. This speech should have been delivered 1 year from now, not now, damn it.
If he don't look good, we don't look good.
See, I don't have white hair.
Then we're cheating on our country.
We haven't figured that one out yet.
To have to do illegal things, to end up in the cheapest factory ever.
Why? How do you get to Europe? We haven't figured that one out yet. We don't use airplanes.
I brought a gift with me right here. This right here is the iPlane 1. It's a hydrogen-powered airplane, and this is what our president should be flying in.
I said, let's go to Iraq. Okay, General Raisin Cane, how fast can... Sir, we can have it totally finished in 1 week.
We'll get rid of Air Force One. Can we get rid of Air Force One?
I said 1 week, and yet I see senators that are there for 20 years. White hair.
For me, also as a guy that looks up to you, looks up to Ralph Lauren, looks up to American industry guys, non-political, no put the beep on it, however you want to do it, 5 seconds delay, and just goes in and gets it done.
Today I'm proud to announce that I will be very soon signing an executive order requiring colleges and universities to support free speech.
I love this guy right here.
They're trying to take you out with bullshit, okay?
It made me feel like Superman. You made a Superman, that's my favorite superhero, and you made a Superman cape.
Who does this? Other countries say, get the hell out of here. They will execute the baby after birth. Donald Trump should not, under any circumstance.
Love this guy right here. Let me give this guy a hug right here. I love this guy right here.
That's really,
yeah.
Amen. That's really nice.
We're not talking about implanted devices of the future. I'm talking about wearable devices that are like Fitbits for your brain. It used to be that there was very little we could tell from EEG activity. But already, using consumer wearable devices, these are headbands, hats that have sensors that can pick up your brainwave activity, earbuds, headphones, tiny tattoos that you can wear behind your ear. We can pick up emotional states like, are you happy or sad or angry? We can pick up and decode faces that you're seeing in your mind. Simple shapes, numbers, your PIN number to your bank account.
What do you think about wireless technologies used in schools and kindergartens and children using cell phones?
It is incredibly dangerous, incredibly stupid, and I think the people who authorize it should be locked away for the rest of their lives because they shouldn't be walking around the planet. And the reason is, if you are a young girl or a young teacher, the microwaves are affecting the eggs or the immature eggs, the follicles in your ovaries, 400,000 of them. The radiation is 10 times more dangerous to this DNA than any other DNA in the body. And nobody knows why, it just is. So your eggs are already irradiated and could produce a genetically damaged child if you have one. The biggest danger comes when you become pregnant, because your fetus has your damage if it is damaged by it. But in the fetus, for the first 100 days, it is forming, if it's a girl, its own immature eggs, because they're born with all of them, unlike boys who make sperms. They're born with all of their eggs. So what you are now doing is you are having a fetus inside you, and the eggs as they are forming have no protection, absolutely no cellular protection. They haven't developed it. So you are now irradiating what would be your grandchild. And because the baby in your fetus would be your child, and the eggs inside the fetus will be when this child grows up and has her child. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So it is your grandchild, and this is where the biggest danger is. It is in the grandchildren, which won't be born for another 30 to 40 years. That is where the big problem, and this has already been shown with animals who reproduce every few years. We already know this is going to happen. So the people putting Wi-Fi in schools today, I think they should be sent to jail, I really do. Because they are going to cause this, and we don't know how many people it's going to affect, but we do know it's going to affect quite a few. They are going to affect the children to be born in 30 years' time, 30, 40 years' time. There has also been an experiment that shows microwaves affect it's called the P300 complex of the brain. In other words, and there are a couple of papers on this, a child will have delayed thinking. So if a child is sitting an exam, they won't be able to think of the answer straight away. It's delayed. And they'll almost, like a little bit like dyslexia, they won't be able to think of an answer straight away, or if there's an emergency in their life, there's just a slight delay. And it could affect their examinations, it could affect the whole of their lives. And this has also been shown.
What would your message be to parents and to schools and to kindergartens concerning wireless technologies?
Get rid of them. Get rid of them straight away. There is a solution. A solution is just to use a piece of wire about that long and use a fibre optic cable or a telephone line, and the problem is solved.
This next story is so unbelievable, we didn't think it could possibly be true. But after receiving thousands of records and declassified reports from the Army, it's confirmed that during the Cold War, the United States military conducted secret tests on unsuspecting people in the city of St. Louis. A local sociologist will make her findings public tomorrow, but she spoke first to the I-Team's Lisa Zigman.
Lisa Martino Taylor's life work has been to uncover details of the Army's ultra-secret military experiments carried out in St. Louis and other cities during the 1950s and 60s.
This study was secretive for a reason. They didn't have volunteers stepping up and saying, yeah, I'll breathe zinc cadmium sulfide with radioactive particles.
These Army archive pictures show how the tests were done in Corpus Christi, Texas in the 1960s. In Texas, planes were used to drop the chemical, but in St. Louis, the Army placed chemical sprayers on buildings and station wagons. City officials were kept in the dark about the tests. The Cold War cover story was that the Army was testing smoke screens to protect cities from a Russian attack. The truth, according to Martino Taylor, was much more sinister.
It's pretty shocking. The level of duplicity and secrecy. Clearly, they went to great lengths to deceive people.
By making hundreds of Freedom of Information Act requests, she uncovered once classified documents that confirmed the spraying of zinc cadmium sulfide. The greatest concentration of this compound was sprayed near the Pruitt-Igoe housing complex just south of downtown St. Louis. It was home to 10,000 low-income people, and an estimated 70% were under the age of 12.
The government has been using people as guinea pigs for reports that they're using directed energy weapons against unsuspecting civilians in very much the same way. They're no longer just spraying people like bugs. They're targeting people with exotic weapons that they've never seen before, that they've never heard about before. And of course, they want people to think that it's the Russians. They keep talking about the Havana syndrome. 60 Minutes has come back with a new documentary on all of these people getting hit with energy weapons, and they're like, the Russians. It's the Russians. Just like the Trump dossier and everything else. It's the Russians that's targeting people. It's not the CIA. It's not the U.S. government. But of course it is. And they've weaponized the entire infrastructure. And now they're just testing it out on people, especially Christians, conservatives, and purebloods.
And there you have it. Whether you're aware of it or not, you are being targeted. And this whole fiasco has been going on for decades, man. For a very long time, this whole thing has been going on. The only thing that is the method in which they target you. That's why I put together a couple of these clips to kind of like, drive the point home, how they're putting a lot of effort in coming up with this exotic weapons, like the narrator here called it, these exotic weapons that leave no exit wounds. These exotic weapons, when they are utilized on the unsuspecting civilians, unsuspecting masses out there, you cannot tell what just happened to you, right? Because there is no evidence to point at and say, okay, this weapon went in here and went out the other way. Like somebody shoots you with a gun, the bullet goes in and you have the exit wounds. But this is not the case. They're coming up with weapons that leave no exit wounds. Even they don't leave no entrance wounds neither, right? And in part of the clips that I put together, you have this individual here, talking about, you have this one also, right? But actually, this one here says this is what the government is doing while you're busy scrolling, shopping, driving, and working, right? You have that guy, a lot of you might have seen it, the narrator, this guy here, calls him Agent Smith. And you can, if you've seen him, you'll understand why, because he's all about coming up with all these exotic weapons and, working for the CIA and things like that, coming up with weapons that can infiltrate your brain, infiltrate your whole system, right? And hijack it, so to speak. They can control it from wherever it is they are, remotely control it and do whatever it is they want to do to you. And you wouldn't even be aware of it. See, this is a level of threat we have to deal with. That's why we'll bring it to your forefront, to bring it to your peripheral, so you can understand what you're up against. You're being targeted with these weapons that you have no way of properly protecting yourself against it. How can you fight something you can't see, right? How can you? Like the individual mentioned, your whole infrastructure has been weaponized with this invisible weapon. And a lot of it is already in your homes, right? So I put together this clip also, talking about the Wi-Fi's and things like that, and he went into describing the dangers of that, especially for the children, especially for pregnant mothers, and the damage it does even to your baby that is in your womb, especially if it's a female, the damages it does to your eggs. See, the people that are coming up with all this stuff, they are very evil to the core of them, to come up with this kind of technology that targets fetuses. They target not just the fetuses, but the eggs of those fetuses. Because, he mentioned that the girls, they come with their eggs, right? Not like men. Men create, they make sperms and things, right? He mentioned that. He explained that. So they target this stuff. Even while it's still in the womb, they come up with a technology to go about this stuff right here. That's why, just because you know how to do something doesn't mean it's good. Because that kind of technology will wow you like, God damn, that's crazy, right? But that is very nefarious, which brings us here in the book of Ecclesiasticus, the 19th chapter, and the 22nd verse. It says, the knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom, neither at any time the counsel of sinners prudence. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, HaKodash. Double honors to apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught us this truth and continue to teach us this truth. Peace, salutation, shalom, shalom, shalom to all your brothers and sisters out there that are of the household of faith, beginning with 144,000 down to the men, women, and children that are allotted to be delivered in this latter days, who are all of the elect, and to the brothers that are pushing this gospel in all sincerity and in all honesty. To you all, I say shalom, right? And this is a very weird times we're living in, very weird. And with the rise in technological advancements means more danger you're in, because now these guys, now you have Palantir, you have all these psychos that have gotten their hands around weapons of mass destructions, weapons that would do damage without even leaving a trace of evidence, right? You have these weirdos with their filthy paws on this type of technology. You can imagine what they will do with it, right? You can imagine what this crazy MFers will do with it. These are guys that religiously believe in there's too much people on the planet. So imagine when they have a technology that they can use to wipe people out without even making a fuss, right? Without even, put it in such a way that they'll be like, oh, this is the guy doing it, right? It leaves no exit wound. They don't even know who to blame for that, except those that have been, aware of what is happening. That's the only way you will be able to put two and two together, because without that, how are you even gonna, that's the level of threat we're dealing with. So I pulled this scripture out in the Ecclesiasticus, the 19th chapter, the 22nd verse. It says, the knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom. Just because you know how to do something doesn't really mean, because that's a crazy ass technology, really. The directed energy weapons, the aerosol sprays that are spraying the air in the form of chemtrails and things like that. And even this guy, he mentions it, Agent Smith, he mentions that the aerosolized, it goes through your mucosa, he goes through all of that. You inhale this stuff in, and it builds, it assembles inside of you, right? And starts doing God knows what inside of you. You see? So that technology, it is crazy. It is a crazy way to do something. But at the end of the day, it is wickedness. You're not doing it to help the planet. You're not doing it to help the masses, the individuals out there. You're not doing it for the betterment of the humanity, the human race, so to speak, right? So that's why it's not wisdom. Because if you're going to use technology, you use it to do good. But that's not what they're doing it with. So that's why the scripture is telling you the knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom. Yeah, it will wow you that people have the wherewithal to come up with ideas like that, technology like that. But at the end of the day, For what use is it? Just to destroy, kill, maim, unalive, and all of that. So that it's not really wisdom. Said neither at any time the council of sinners prudence, right? They come together in all these alphabet boy groups, right? CIA, FBI, NSA, all of that, right? WHO, the UN, all of that. WEF. You see? They come together in all these places to come up with all these ways and all these technological advancements and how to oppress the people and how to carry out whatever nefarious agendas that they got out there. So the council of sinners is not prudence. Why? Because anything they're going to come up with is never anything that will benefit the future of the planet. You see? Why? Because they're sinners. What is a sinner going to do? Well, it's going to come up with technology that will pollute the earth. Technology that will unalive a lot of people. That's what they're going to do. You see? And scriptures is very clear on that. We go further in Ecclesiastes, the 7th chapter and the 29th verse. It says, "Lo, this only have I found, that the Most High have made man upright, but they have sought out many inventions." You see that? So all these inventions, from the policies, from the wicked ways of individuals to their technology, right? To their technology, because if you look up that word here, we've done it before, but let's do it again. Inventions. Real quick. What do you get?
Strong's H 2810. Chishavon. Chishavon.
You get engine, invention. And you come down here in the Strong's definition, you get contrivance, i.e. actual, a warlike machine. A warlike machine. And this is what this directed energy weapons, your chemtrails, all these weapons that have come up with that leave no exit wounds, right? That is that warlike machine, right? Because all this stuff is always going to go back to the military uses of it. And what do you do with the military use of a technology? Well, you use it to come against your enemies. And whether you understand it or not, just because you were born in America or you're an American citizen doesn't mean that you're not an enemy, because you're being targeted with all this stuff. You know, you're being targeted with all this stuff. So it's time for you to see for what it is. So this is a warlike machine that you're up against. This inventions. You know, they're using it to wage war on the masses. See, they're using it to wage some serious war on the masses. That's why you have things like that, even the ones in your home, right? Telling you about your brain ban microwaves attacks, right? Microwave weapons and things like that, right? See? And there you have this one here. It says, watch them snicker and laugh as government agents talk about low-dosing citizens with microwaves to cause the C word and to make the victims think they're going crazy. You see? So that's that warlike machines. And here they are in this committee, practically a Homeland Security Committee, letting you know, yeah, we have technology to do this, right? And then they'll turn around and blame, oh, it's the Russians. Because we wouldn't do that to our citizens. So you got to be the Russians. You're going to be China, right? Whoever they blame, China, you know? Whoever it is they blame out there. Meanwhile, they have this weapon. And they've been using it on you. That's why the other clip I played, way back in the, I believe, was it in the 80s or was it in the 60s? They used that aerosol sprays in the form, not now, you know, they do it with planes. They put it on top of buildings, bombarding the citizens, low-income citizens. And you know who that is, right? Tried it out on their own people. That's how crazy it is. Then you have this one here. The WEF is big into mind control. Not only do they want to assimilate people with brain chips like Elon and the fourth industrial revolution, but they're using the tech that's out there now to manipulate the masses, and the tech goes way beyond the television, the AirPods, the cell phones. They can tap into the human brain and record your inner voice, as well as broadcast thoughts into your minds, into the minds of unsuspecting sheeple, right? So your AirPods and all these wearables that you buy, your smart watches and things like that, these are all part of this warlike machines. Because for you, they sell it to you as one thing, but there's other uses for these technologies that they don't disclose to you, like it says here, unsuspecting sheeple. Because you're not aware of it. They don't have to tell you about it. See? They don't have to tell you about it, but that's where we are. That's where we are, which brings us here in the book of Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter and the 4th verse. It says, look at the proud. They trust in themselves and their technology, right? They have more trust in their technology than they have in the God of the Bible. They don't care about the God of the Bible. It says, and their lives are crooked, but the righteous will live by their faithfulness to God. See that? So the only way we are able to live with all these weapons that they've designed, these exotic weapons that they've designed to come against you, that they're targeting you with, the only way for you to live is your faithfulness to God. There's no way for you to physically protect yourself against this. It's impossible. You can buy all the tinfoil you want to buy. You can do all that Faraday cage and whatever it is that is out there. That is just, you're not even scratching the surface with that. The only way for you to truly live with all that is set against you is your faithfulness in God. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. It says, wealth is treacherous, and the arrogant are never at rest. How could it be at rest? They have technology to come up with, right? They have people to oppress. The arrogant can never be at rest. They have wickedness to carry out. You see? It says they open their mouths as wide as grave and like death. So this is how the wicked elites are. That's why everything they come up with, it has to do with unaliving people. Whatever technology it is, the end game is to unalive. Right? That's why it says here, they are as grave. They open their mouths as, what does the grave do? It swallows people, man. And it's like death. That's why the book of John 10:10, the thief cometh not but to steal, kill, and destroy. That's their aim. That's their modus operandi. Their MO. That's how they get down. You see? It says they are never satisfied. They are never satisfied. They can never do enough. And they can never have enough. Right? It says their greed, in their greed, they have gathered up many nations and swallowed many people. That's why they are known as globalists. It's an NWO, a new world order, where they run the whole show. They will sit on top of the throne, running the whole world. Not just an isolated nation or a secluded area. Nah, it's a globalist thing. That's why all the agenda is a globalist agenda. They're pushing it upon the whole world because they can never have enough. It says, but soon their captives will taunt them. They will mock them, saying, what sorrow awaits you thieves? That's exactly what they are. They've stolen everything. They've stolen lands, they've stolen resources, and then they turn around and tell you that, oh, there's not enough resources for the planet, so we got to reduce the population. Well, why don't you start with yourself? Meanwhile, you have all the billions, you can just give some of that away to the people and help hunger. Nah, they'll never do that. Instead, they will put their money and coming up with technology to F you up. Thieves, man. Robbers. To the point where they're trying to own everything and you yourself will own nothing and somehow be happy about it. You see? That's what you're dealing with, man. It says now you will get what you deserve. you've become rich by extortion. But how much longer can this go on? Basically anybody that is hip to what is going on, this is our question. How much longer can this wicked keep doing all their wicked deeds, and how much more can we take? How much more can the planet take? How much can all this go on, man? Child trafficking and human trafficking and people barely surviving. It is too much. Meanwhile, just a small percentage of the earth is hoarding all the resources and calling you a useless eater. You see? So suddenly your debtors will take action. They will turn on you and take all you have. So the sheeple is going to come upon where the sheep will be like, man, to hell with this. To hell with this. We didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up for this. You know how people get when they can't take enough. That you're saying when people have nothing to lose, they lose it. It says, and take all you have, while you stand trembling and helpless. So because you have plundered many nations, now all your survivors will plunder you. You committed murder throughout the countryside and filled the towns with violence. Who has done this? The wicked elites who are Edomites. That's what they are known as in the Bible, the scriptures. Edomites or Idumeans. This is who they are. That's how they operate. They plundered everything, stolen everything that is not theirs. And how did they do that? Through violence. This is the blessing they were blessed with. They were blessed with the sword. What do you do with a sword? Well, they commit acts of violence. That's what. You see? It says, what sorrow awaits you who build big houses with money gained dishonestly. They're living lavishly with dishonest money, dishonest wealth. It says, you believe your wealth will buy security, putting your family's nest beyond the reach of danger. But by the murders you committed, you have shamed your name and forfeited your lives. That's exactly what they've done. They brought shame upon themselves. Because now look at their legacy. The Edomites are known as bloodshedders. That's what they are. Oppressors. That's why, they come up with all this trying to erase their history, their bloodshedding history from museums and from history, from books and all of that, right? Because it's a shame unto them what they've done on the planet. Right? Critical race theory, CRT, right? They call it. All of that. That's why it's a shame unto them. They can't stand that. But that is what you did. You shed innocent blood on the planet. You took in things that are not yours. That is part of your legacy. So it's now a shame unto you. So the very stones in the walls cry out against you, and the beams in the ceilings echo the complaint. So anywhere they look, everything is against them. That's why they're going to come in with hardcore ways. That's why they're coming up with all this technology to, like their last stand, their last hurrah is with technology. To basically, if I can't have it, nobody will. That's the type of mindset the wicked elites have. If we can't rule, nobody else is going to rule. So we just have to destroy everything and everyone in it. Right? So what sorrow awaits you who build cities with money gained through murder and corruption. The wicked elites, exactly what they've done, and this is what they gain out of that. You see, through murder, now they're coming up with elaborate ways to commit murder to the point where you can't even point fingers at them no more, because what's your proof? Because they're using weapons that leave no evidence, no exit wounds, nothing. Silent weapons, silent, invisible weapons. Right? And they make money off of it. It's like you had Kanye West mounting off, oh, we're going to make money off of that from the pharmaceuticals and all the, he was just going on and on and on and on and that. Because his mind has been warped. He even talked about his neuropsychology or whoever that was fucking with his mind. Excuse my French. You see, that's where we are, man. And the corruption. And I just had to bring that to your to your attention. Put together a couple of those clips. Hopefully, you've been edified by that. And I say all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachah Kodash. Double honors to apostles and elders of Great Millstone. See you next time, Lord willing. Shalom. Shalom.